This story begins with an assault near Pokrovsk.
One of the main rules for a tanker is hit fast and get out fast.
Russian tankers, not trusting their DIY grill cages, were praying to the angels to help them break through to a key height. But little did they know that a Ukrainian Leopard 2 was already waiting for them on that hilltop, fully loaded with tungsten core darts that can punch through just about anything. But first, the Russian convoy had to squeeze through this bottleneck in a half-destroyed village, and by the laws of the genre, Ukrainian drones were waiting for them. The first tank hit blocks the road for the others. The bottleneck works. The Russians are forced to turn back. At first glance, nothing unusual. Drones have long been the kings of the battlefield. You've probably gotten used to footage like this, but not everything is what it seems. Look closely at the first tank that stopped, the one with the mine plow. It didn't burn after the first hit. It kept standing against wave after wave. Ukrainian FPVs bounce off it like arrows off Achilles' shield. And those that do explode, they're clearly not getting through the armor. According to Russians, this tank took no fewer than 60 hits. Even if that's an exaggeration, the footage alone is insane. And here's the twist. After the battle, the tank remained in the gray zone for a while. Ukrainians never managed to torch it. Later, the Russians pulled it back, and it turned out the tank hadn't stopped because of the drones at all, but because its transmission broke. Look at this machine. Let's call it Achilles' shield. It walked through hell and came back nearly untouched. The improvised armor actually worked. Watch till the end to see how Ukrainians make this beast fall. That Russian command decided to slap the same protection onto more tanks and repeat the mad assault. But before we show you that fight, let's take a closer look at what makes Achilles' shield so special. Hit the like button, because your like is our weapon against YouTube's brutal algorithms. Thanks. First thing that jumps out are the chain dreadlocks. Steel ropes dangling like the fringe of a gypsy wagon. Here's how they work against drones. The FPV's shaped charge warhead detonates far from the actual armor, leaving the tank unharmed. Second, the heavy cage armor wrapped all around. Behind it, you see the core structure, a metal box. And what's stuffed inside that box? Yep, wooden logs. On top, an extra welded steel grill cage. Add to that a beefy 11-channel EW system, thermal imagers, and dual cameras, front and rear. But the craziest part is hidden inside Achilles' shield. You can only get in with a special ladder. Inside, there's even a compartment for infantry, lined with thick metal. And here's the wildest thing. The commander's station is in there too. For safety, the commander sits outside the main tank hull, like some IT guy in a coffee shop, directing the crew via cameras and intercom. Unreal. Well, looks like all the tanks are ready for the assault. Crews are loading ammunition. Now it's just a matter of attaching the mine plow to the lead tank, because every meter of the gray zone has been mined several times by both sides. And now, let's go to the battlefield. Alongside the 4 tanks carrying Achilles' shield rolled in more vehicles with the usual grill cages strapped on top. And behind them, more armored friends. The whole convoy looks like it's headed to a picnic. You can already start feeling sorry for the Russian infantry clinging to their armor. Such parade-style convoys are rare these days, but just the sight of Achilles' shield gave everyone the feeling. This time, we'll break through for sure. Spoiler, no, they will not. Out in the open gray zone, the convoy's speed slowed, because the lead tank with the mine plow couldn't move faster than 10 kilometers per hour. No, you're not looking at the pyramids of Egypt on the horizon. That's Donbass, baby. Its history is a bit like America's Wild West. Here, the Knights of the Wild Steppe, Ukrainian Cossacks, always ruled. Because of the convoy's snail pace and the long distance to Ukrainian lines, The defenders had time to prepare their welcome. A Leopard 2 rolled into position. Let's call him Harvester of Sorrow. Look, the camo makes it almost invisible. And of course, the Russians had no clue they were already walking into the harvest. The Harvester of Sorrow starts carving up the convoy with German precision. The Russians had no idea what was hitting them. Does Achilles' shield save them this time? As you can see, all those improvised add-ons are useless against DM-23A PFSDS rounds. Every shot from Leopard's 120mm cannon lands like a scythe strike. If it doesn't outright kill a tank, it tears all the extra junk clean off. Without Achilles' shield, those tanks are naked in the steppe. And naked, they can be killed by a simple FPV drone. Uncovering these frontline stories takes a massive effort. Support our mission by subscribing to the channel. The Russian formation falls apart. Some try to turn back home, but no, those who veer off the path hit mines. Others fire back, anywhere, just to fire. But it feels like nobody's walking away from today's meat grinder. The accuracy of German tanks is legendary. And honestly, Leopard itself has already become a legend of this war. You'll find several videos on our channel showing how it fights. There's even a video comparing the combat capabilities of the German tank with the American Abrams under real war conditions. So, let's not get sidetracked now. At some point though, hope flickers for the Russians. The Leopard falls silent. Maybe its ammo racks are empty? After all, a standard Leopard 2A4 carries up to 42 rounds. Nobody knows for sure. But Ukrainians had a reliable backup. Artillery was already locked on Russian coordinates. And FPV drones are circling above. So the harvest goes on. It doesn't stop even when the shooting dies down. They say the scariest sound in this war isn't explosions or artillery fire. It's silence. Because silence here is always deceptive. In that silence, you start to hear a thin, nervous buzzing, like a mosquito near your ear. Yeah, that's drones. Writing the new soundtrack of modern war. Their sound cuts your nerves like a razor. Doesn't matter if it's flying at you or not, because that buzz means game over. Attempts to shoot one down with small arms rarely work.
Нас разбили. Я выхожу один, Дюс остался там. Все пацаны, это я один, кто вышел. Это посадка. Нас просто... Дюса не могу вытащить.
Even the infantrymen who survived the first strikes and tried to hide in a sparse forest are now doomed to be buried without names. Do they stand a chance of surviving if they make it to nightfall? Maybe, but they can't go back because their commander's order is clear. Push toward Pokrovsk, hole up inside the buildings of the suburban village of Shevchenko, and wait for the next wave of assault troops. That's Russian tactics in action. Stockpiling forces behind Ukrainian lines. Some sit there for weeks, with no water, no food, and then either surrender or die.
Никогда не идите на СВО. Вы попадете в жопу.
And yet some do survive and set ambushes for Ukrainian soldiers. So by morning, the harvest for the Leopard 2 begins again.
We mostly fire on buildings where drone operators are hiding, infantry, or where weapons and ammo might be stored.
But in dense urban terrain, you can't use artillery or a tank from a closed position. The buildings block the shot. So another Leopard 2 A4 crew pushes into the city to fire the old-fashioned way. Direct fire. In the city, a tank faces just as many enemies. This Leopard 2 A4 is draped with a mesh canopy and ringed with Contact 1 reactive armor. The heavy Leopard stands out against the streets where just yesterday there were shops and apartment blocks. Tense minutes, because from any corner could pop a man with an anti-tank guided missile. And at any moment, a Russian drone with a shaped charge warhead might appear in the sky. And there it is, the panel block building where Russian infantry are holed up. These Soviet-era concrete buildings usually have walls up to 400 millimeters thick, reinforced with steel rods. For most jobs against dug-in infantry and buildings, the go-to round is the DM-11 programmable high explosive shell.
У нас походу гости.
The tank gun becomes a storming squad of its own. Roll up, fire, and the whole floor bursts apart like cardboard. Need to repeat? No problem. The goal is simple: make it easier and safer for the Ukrainian infantry who will come later to finish the clearance. Position destroyed, but the tension doesn't fade. Russian recon already knows there's a Leopard 2 working inside the city. A tank may be fast, but for drones, 20 to 30 kilometers is nothing. Soon the Leo is glowing bright on Russian operators' screens. Hit. Another hit. And again. And again. The fifth drone finally punches through the Leopard's cage armor near the transmission. The engine stalls. The tank halts. On the radio, try starting on emergency. And a miracle. The Leopard roars back to life and crawls away in manual mode. This Leo's got 9 lives just like a cat. Mission complete. The tank makes it back to base under cover. But the war rolls on. In Russian workshops, new cages are welded onto tanks, while Ukrainian Leopards get ready for their next hunt. Show must go on. These barrels, tracks, chunks of armor, transmission blocks, and engine parts could have been turned into roofs for schools and hospitals, or into greenhouses and grain depots. They could have built bridges, ferries, and docks. But for now, they remain here, monuments to a brutal war. These burned-out tanks and APCS hold unique stories, and we're here to uncover them. Subscribe to our channel so we have someone to share them with. Thanks for watching.